Good afternoon. This session is the last session today. I'm Young-Sil Kwak from Korea Astronomy and Space Science Institute in South Korea. So our session is a plenary session. We have a total of 4 talks. So first talk is Mamta. Yeah. Her talk. Title is IAU. Okay, IAU Women in Astronomy Working Group Activities and Survey Results. Please start.
Yeah. Yes, so good morning, everyone. I hope you can hear me and you can see my presentation.
Yeah, all's fine.
Yeah. All right, so I'll just try to go to full screen mode, but I don't manage. I don't know why. So let me just try it again. Yeah, there we are. So Zoom and all of it visible, perhaps. Yeah. All right, so we'll continue like this because I don't know why it's not going to full screen mode. Right, so so welcome everybody. I am Mamta Pommier, the chair of IAU Women in Astronomy Working Group. And I'll give you a quick background. So I did my PhD in 2007 under a Franco-Indian project. I am an Indian person with Indian origin and French nationality. And I did my habilitation, which is one of the highest degrees that one can get from my universities in France in 2019 called habilitation. And I'm a member of EU Commission expert in radio astronomy, so working with the EU Commission actually. And I'm employed with the Laboratoire Univers et Particules de Montpellier in France, which is a CNRS laboratory. So that's the kind of background. I'm working since last 15 years on radio astronomy projects in France under fixed term contracts. So this is just to say that you may be experienced, but somehow you have to keep on trying for positions, and it's not always very easy to get permanent positions, as we have already heard from the morning session. So this is just a quick background of what all efforts that a woman astronomer has to do, or any astronomer, whether man or woman, has to do to continue with their career in astronomy and to be visible and to be active. So that's the kind of research work that I have been doing, which is basically imaging at very low frequencies with radio telescopes like GMRT, LOFAR, and also SK French Pathfinder, which is called Nenufar, where I have produced first ever low frequency images at 30 megahertz. I have, as of now, gained at least 10 grants to support my career into research, because the low frequency radio astronomy community was not very dominant in France, extragalactic astronomy at low frequencies. And so I had to do a lot of effort in community building. So that's what I've been doing. And I had to support my research projects with the fundings, proposals that I wrote, funding I got, and with the help of that, the contracts that I could get. I've been also doing teaching since last 10 years at the University of Lyon, and have been leading several international exchange programs and signed MOU with universities in France and in India. And for the moment, I'm working for the preparation of SKA. Actually, since 2014, I'm part of the SKA steering committee members. So these members are basically looking at the SKA proposals which are being submitted by the users, looking at the system requirements that they need for their projects, and then conveying this information to the data management team as well as to the users. Besides that, I'm also leading 3 SKA projects on galaxy clusters and AGNs when the phase 1 data will be available. And I have written several SKA white book for the French community and for the international community as well. Besides that, I have been training students. So from all over the world, I've trained at least 20 graduate, master, PhD, and postdoc students as of now on my projects in radio astronomy. As I said, this expertise was lacking in France, and this is where I have been playing an important role. And I have organized 25 international schools and conferences, including the European Astronomical Society meeting, the Franco-Indian meetings, the IAU meetings, and all sorts of outreach meetings. I'm also a referee member since 2006 of various funding proposal committee like the EU Commission, the Marie Curie Fellowship Proposal Committee, the IAU, and a part of the editorial board member and journals where you submit your publications. And I've been also evaluating PhD thesis and master projects. Besides that, I've been doing a lot of outreach activities because it's very important to bring the research to the common public, to explain them in easy languages, and to make it accessible to everybody. So I think it's important and it should be done, so I do that. And since 2019, I'm actively supporting the career of women in research, in STEM especially, because the women are underrepresented in STEM. They don't have enough support. There is a lack of training, lack of awareness, there is society practice and all sorts of factors which are playing in. Right, so that's brief introduction. Now let's get to the IAU members and Women in Astronomy Working Group. So IAU is a very big international organization. We already heard about it in our first session, talks from Elaine, from Sylvia. Now you can see here that there are around 12,000, more than 12,000 members in this organization from several countries. And among these, actually, the Women in Astronomy Working Group is a very small community of just 200 members. So that's really a very small number among all these members, 12,000 members. And most of the members of this organization are male, and female members are less compared to male, as you can see in the first statistics. So if you calculate the percentage, you will see, which agrees actually with the previous talks given this morning, that there are around 79% male astronomers in this organization and 21% women organization overall who are active in astronomy and who are a part of IAU. That itself shows that percentage of women is small, even in the IAU, right? Now, if we go further and if we see the total number of members, we will see that there are around 98%, or let's say 98.5% who are male, and only 1.6%, sorry, our IAU members are in non-women astronomy working group, that means general members, and only 1.6%. So that's really very small number of members are a part of Women in Astronomy Working Group. So that's really, really very small, only 1.6% members. Whereas I feel that all women should be a part of Women in Astronomy Working Group, and they should represent their career, their achievement, their support, and all the activities that they do. But I don't understand why this number is so small. So of course, there was a lack of awareness which was there, on which we have been working, but there are many other factors why this number is so small. Among these 1.6 members, we have around 11.4% who are male, and 88.6% who are female. So again, female are dominating this working group, but there are again significant number of male members as well. And who are these members? These are members from various countries, as you can see in this particular statistics, with most of them coming from the US. So as we heard this morning, many active members are there, with more women than men. Then Italy, France, India, Netherlands, Germany, South Africa, and then it keeps going down further. But these are the countries where you have members in the IAU. We are having also from Korea, but these are male members who are a part of IAU Women in Astronomy Working Group. And we would like to invite the women astronomers from Korea to join our working group. It will be great to even have them, and not only the male astronomers. So overall, we have only 21% of women researchers from all over the world who are active and who are a part of IAU Women in Astronomy, who are a part of the IAU, not Women in Astronomy Working Group, but in IAU in general. Right, so let's go further. This is actually continent-wise distribution and country-wise distribution, where you can see the number of the percentage of or the proportion of female active astronomers, about 21% in each country. And you can see with this 21% cutoff that we saw earlier, and what we can see is in many European countries, the proportion of women, active women in IAU activities is more, at least more than half of the European countries have women who are active, who have at least more than 21% in number. Whereas when you go from Europe to America, the numbers goes down. So you have still active members coming from Venezuela, from Argentina, and Mexico, and all, they're all below 21% cutoff. So women researchers are there, but their percentage is low. That means they are less active compared to the male researchers in astronomy in those countries. The countries which are shaded in beige color, these are the countries where we have very few members, only 10 members or less than 10 members. So we couldn't have a meaningful contribution to the statistics for those countries. But there are countries where we have active members, and you can see the percentage of women, the proportion of active women is always less than 21% in those countries. Now going further to Asia, we can see even here, for example, India, it's also below 21%. But if you go to Vietnam, to Thailand, you can see, or Indonesia, you can see that women researchers are more active in those countries in the activities of the IAU. Going to Africa, we can see in South Africa, the women researchers are more active, but in Egypt, it is very less. And in other countries, there are less than 10 members, so maybe 1 or 2 members, so it's not really effective for this statistical study. When we go to Australia, the number is below 21%. And when we go to Middle East also, besides Turkey, all the countries are having very few members, and women researchers are not that active in the IAU activities or not well represented. So why is there such a low cutoff? Is there a lack of awareness? Is there a society practice, any kind of stereotype which is holding them back? Is there enough professional support, family support? All sorts of questions come into picture. And besides that, COVID-19 has also impacted their contribution. So there is a clear gender imbalance. There is underrepresentation of women. The participation of women researchers, even in the IAU, which is existing since so many years, is still low, and we need to bring up these numbers. We need to put women in decision-making and funding and steering committee roles in order to secure not only their role, but also the future of women in this field. It is important that they have representatives. Right, going further, we conducted our own survey on working conditions of women. We were looking at it. What is the problem? Why are they being held back? And this survey was conducted over 2-3 years. And we got 750 responses from all over the world. You can see all the countries that participated in this survey. There were male and female, both researchers who have participated. We had the highest participation or response to our survey coming from Italy, followed by the US, Australia, Spain, France, Germany, India, UK, Netherlands, Sweden, and then it keeps going down and down. We have very few contribution coming from Korea, for example, over here, and we would like to see more participation from Korean astronomical community. If we just group this continent-wise distribution, what we will see is most of the responses that we get for our survey is from the EU countries, followed by America, followed by Australia, then comes Asia, Africa, Middle East, and other countries. So more than 50% participants from our survey are from the EU country, which also means that all these results that we are trying to show you also has, while it has contribution from members from other countries, it also has lots of voices from the European countries into it. Right. So going further, what you will see here is the gender-wise distribution of the participants in different career stages. So you have females at permanent positions in blue. In green, we have female in non-permanent positions. And all this is male participants who participated in our survey in brown and in orange. So you can see here what it represents. For example, this is senior researcher and professor position. For female astronomers, this is junior researcher position, this is engineering position, and this is science communication position. And again, senior member, junior member, science communication and technical, but non-permanent, and same for the male researchers. So among these 750 members, we can see most of the people who participated in our survey were female, either permanent or non-permanent. The non-permanent researchers were almost 30% or 35%, whereas almost 40% are non-permanent female researchers. When they are non-permanent, that doesn't mean they are always young. That also means that they may be 40, 50 years old, but they don't have a permanent position even at that stage. And male researchers, you can see that there are many who are having permanent position. And then there are ones who are having a senior professor, junior professor, and then engineering and communication. And in this case, this is the orange one over here, it's a junior male researcher. So we had some young male researchers also who participated, but not many senior male researchers who participated in the survey. So what is the reason? First of all, male researchers are participating less. Second, you can see from the distribution that at non-permanent but younger stages, we have more male researchers participating, but at senior positions, we have less. Why? Because they already have permanent positions by then, and which is not the case for women researchers. So this kind of statistics already shows that there is a high proportion of non-permanent women researchers at junior level as compared to men at the same junior level. That's one thing. And when you go at higher position at senior levels also, then the proportion of women researchers in non-permanent position is going up compared to men. So why is this imbalance? Why women are not being given permanent position is a question that is being raised. One of the main reasons why they have this problem is because their productivity goes down if they are taking any career break or maternity leave. So if they have family responsibility, if they have children responsibility, if they're doing caregiving activities at home or contributing towards the social life in a way of the family, then their productivity is down. And as a result, they take career breaks because of maternity. And those long career breaks can be 14 years, 10 years, 10 years, based upon whether these are permanent researchers, these are non-permanent female researchers, but it may be hardly 1 year or less than 1 year for male researchers, and also for women researchers who don't have children responsibility, because their career doesn't get impacted due to career break or due to maternity break. So maternity break is causing one of the factors which is causing this big impact of reduced growth or progress in their careers. But this is not the only factor. There are other factors as well. So let's look at the other factors. So as we say, more children you will have, more career break you will have, and you will be having more time to get a permanent position. You can be longer in this whole how do you say, run for getting a permanent position. But one has to remember that these women researchers who have children and family responsibility, they are not only working outside, they are also working at home. So they are working around the clock, and they are never really relaxed or with zero stress. They always have a lot of work to do. And if they are mothers, they also have to take care of their children and their education, etc. So longer career breaks, more children, more longer breaks. And unfortunately, these leads to kind of biases in the evaluation of the progress of their career. And these biases are very visible in the hiring committee and the funding committee practices, which has happened maybe in last decades. Perhaps things are getting better today, but we will look at it later on. And also they don't manage to get enough support because people encourage them to take part-time position. They encourage them to take low-paid jobs. They encourage them or they don't get enough support for permanent position. So difficulties for non-permanent mother researchers to get fixed-term contract exist not only nationally, but also internationally, and they are always facing kind of discouragement. So is there any lack of consideration or understanding for the situation of mothers in this field is a question to be raised. Now we can look quickly at this graph. It's a bit complicated, but let's start. So at the PhD position, let's say the candidate is 25 years old. These are the tasks in research. You can have all sorts of tasks like writing proposal, getting grants, writing papers, organizing meetings, giving invited talks, all sorts of tasks. So at the age of 25, when you are just a PhD student, the career is graph is same for male researcher, for female researcher with no children responsibility, and female researcher with children responsibility, which starts actually later. But initially they all start at the same phase. But when they enter into the postdoc phase, this is when they are 30 years old or above, that's when many women tend to have family and children, and this is where their career is pulled back. And this is where there is a flatness or there is a reduced productivity from their side. Whereas male researchers and female researcher with no children responsibility, they continue to have a kind of smoother graph, which is going up, but still female researcher face some kind of stereotypes or some kind of biases towards certain positions and non-flexibility, as I would say, which brings them slightly down than the male researchers. So the productivity goes down due to lack of support, lack of fund, lack of funding actually after the career break. That means after maternity, increased expenses, they have low paid jobs, their expenses goes up because their family grows bigger. And so all sorts of problems which come into picture, besides the time they have to also spend in writing every year, new proposal, new funding opportunity, new application, where also they have to spend a lot of time. But even if they're given some sort of support between 30 to 35, and they are also having their families and raising their children, which are very small, they can start to show some progress. But by then, people are starting to apply for permanent positions. And of course, their productivity is reduced, whereas the productivity of other researchers is better. And the funding agency is somehow, the hiring agencies are somehow, I don't know, taking into account all these factors and evaluating things in a right way or not. But the consequence is we see less women researchers in permanent position, and mostly women who are having family responsibilities not getting jobs. So that's how it goes. So let's go further. So we know this famous leaky pipeline effect. We heard about it in the morning. So, we also saw those statistics that at the PhD stage, we have 50% male and 50% female candidates, which is the case over here, as shown here, male and female candidates entering equally at university level to gain PhD. But once they have finished their PhD, most of them, around 28 or so, some may start to get married because of all sorts of society practices and all sorts of social pressure that may have, family pressure they may have. They may start to have children. And if that is the case, then most of the women are kind of excluded from this mainstream pipeline towards the permanent position. When they enter in the postdoc stage, you can start to see that the proportion suddenly changes. It's not 50-50 anymore. There are 75% male and only 25% female students left at the postdoc. Most of the female are excluded. There are few females and there are more and more male. 10 or 15 years after the thesis, after the PhD positions, there are still more female waiting to get a perm or in postdoc stage than male researchers. And that's because those male researchers, they have already got permanent positions, whereas the female researchers are not being given enough support. When it comes to permanent position, suddenly we start to see this imbalance in ratio, 80% male and 20% female. So you will always have only two faculty members who are female, but you will have 8 or 10 or 15 male faculty members in the institute, which is a common picture that we see in the institutes, whereas there are many women who are systematically being removed from the system because there is not enough support, there's not enough proper policy or funding which is available to support their careers. And finally, towards senior researcher position, you'll find 95% male and only 5% female researchers. So that's the situation. So in the beginning, of course, they are being encouraged to enter into this field because universities are getting good registration fees, tuition fees. So it's advantageous for the university. It's good for them to show there is a gender balance, but at the same time, they also get money. So good for them. But the university is not making enough effort to create positions for these women and to keep them in those in the system, in the decision-making situation where they can be effective and they can support the career of other women. Mothers are facing a lot of bias. They are not being hired enough, and they are the one who kind of don't qualify the excellent candidate graph, as I showed you earlier, because their productivity has gone down. But the hiring committee is not looking at the contracts on which these women are working, whether they are low-paid 50% contracts or whether they are full-time contracts. If they are full-time contracts, their productivity should be compared with a full-time contract person. But if they are working at 50% contract, then their productivity should be multiplied twice before comparing two candidates and then looking for the best candidates. But I don't know if these questions are never asked in applications, and I'm not sure people are really looking at the history of the work contracts of the people who are applying for the jobs. Right. So let's go further. So based upon our survey, we found that women are not only having difficulties to carry on with their career after maternity leave. There are other biases also which they are facing. They are facing the social stereotype, discrimination, and bullying, both by men and women. This is the response we have got from our 750 candidates or participants of our survey. And there is a lack of support, both by men and women. There are few job opportunities, lack of funding.
Mamta, you have
yes?
4 minutes.
Yes, sure, yes. And so there are all these factors which we can see here. And they are facing mental and physical harassment equally. All these factors are feeding into what is called as the glass ceiling effect. So let's go further. So this is all I said. So male and female researchers who are not having children responsibility face less bias compared to female researchers with family responsibility or female researchers with color because of their origin. So these are the informations that we have got from our survey. COVID-19 has not helped the situation either. EU Commission has published their statistics, and from their statistics, it shows that women are being mostly offered low-paid jobs. Their working hours have been reduced, and young women are mostly asked to quit, whereas older men are being given the jobs. So they are having difficulties to meet their ends or to support themselves financially. So what are the ways under such conditions to sustain women's career is a question to ask, and how to fix these kind of long existing problems. So, so going back to this pipeline, we see that stereotype bias and neglect of expertise, etc., is feeding to this glass ceiling effect, which we know, which is a kind of a barrier in the progress of the career of women researchers. This gives rise to gender imbalance at workplace, and it gives rise to unhealthy and unsafe working environment, because remember, women are facing harassment, physical and mental at workplace. How to fix this problem? We have to engage more women. We have to recruit more women postdocs. We have to retain also women who are 15 years from a research career and who are having enough experience. We have to retain them, we have to provide them funding, and we have to sustain their careers. So for that, we need flexibility, position, funds, and support in the system. So the IAU Women in Astronomy Working Group understood all these problems which are existing and took over a 4-point action plan. Since September 2021, a new committee was formed, organizing committee. These are the organizing committee members. And we also have national representatives from different countries. So you can see we have a team which is spread all over the world. So it's very good. And we are working towards creating awareness and sustainability, training and skill building, fundraising, so that we can support the career of women researchers, but we need funds and there are not enough funds. We have been applying, but it's difficult. And also communicating all our results via conference, newsletters, etc. So you must have read our newsletters. These are the activities that we had organized as far as awareness was concerned. So we organized not only a survey, but also a seminar series from Deborah, who is the president of the IAU today, and from one of our male organizing committee member. We also conducted interview of outstanding lady astronomers to learn from their career and the challenges that they had faced, how to overcome that. These ladies are remarkable because they have not only supported their own career, but they have also supported career of other women researchers. So this is why it is important to highlight what they can do if they are given support. We have been conducting mentoring session. We have been also inviting students to attend this career stories, meet the scientist event, in which we have invited researchers from different parts of the world to share their career stories and to inspire the young candidates. And we have also been organizing this Enterprising Women in Astronomy series, in which we showed that it is not always great to just stick to astronomy if there are not enough jobs, but one can also look at other job options which is possible with astronomy qualification. Now, from our survey, we get all sorts of testimonials. We get all sorts of comments from lady astronomers who are facing all sorts of problems. But one of the few of these feedbacks are listed here. And you can see that they say that this diversity issue or this gender balance strategies, policies are existing since decades, but we don't see any great change. So that means we have to work harder, and that means those policies are not working at this stage. They are also telling that women researchers are low paid. They are paid below the poverty wages. And why should be this case? Why aren't they paid equally? So that's another problem that they are facing. Women with color are always facing problems. University and funding agencies have to work more actively to support the career of women researchers, which is still not there, or it is slowly picking up now, but it was not there before. And there are lots of mental health issue problems which are coming up in research institutes. Communication is becoming really bad, and mental health issues are really becoming more prominent, besides harassment. And so not all harassers are men. There are also women who are harassing women. So this is another problem. So we have to address everything very wisely and very honestly, and we have to be not stereotype in our mindset, but take into account what's going on. And we have to have some kind of body which is following all this development and progress in the institutes. So why are women astronomers facing unfair working conditions in astronomy? Why are the institution and hiring committee failing in their effort to recruit women astronomers and to come up with gender balance is the question to ask. So if you have any suggestions, please contact us and write to us. We also organized the Women and Girls in Astronomy event with the IAU Outreach Office. As we heard this morning, you can see most of the members, not only from our organizing committee, but also members from different parts of the world who were happy to participate and share their videos, promotional videos to encourage young students, boys and girls in astronomy at the school level and above. And we have been putting these videos on web. Besides that, there were students who have been doing making nice drawings, and we wanted to just see how things are changing in the mindset of children about astronomy. So this was another very successful event. We already heard about it. We have been also organizing training sessions, and you will hear about it on 11th of August from Priya, but other members have equally participated in training students, and we've got very good feedback. The training was offered not only from college level, but also university and even professor level positions from all sorts of different countries. You can see the participants were from different part of the world, and they all have been thanking for us for this training session. They always want more sessions, but we will hear more about it on 11th from Priya. We have been also writing all sorts of documents and giving it to the IAUs so that they can use these information and they can define new strategies to help us, to help women in astronomy. We have been producing Ensemble magazine where we are publishing career stories, statistics, etc. We have been writing reports. We are publishing monthly newsletters, and we are also contributing to the IAU magazines and Catalyst magazine and reports. So you will see here, if you go on the IAU webpage, all the contribution from September onwards that we have done and all the documents and results that we have. And we will be updating over here the new ones. Besides that, dissemination and communication. So we already said are writing newsletters and magazines. We also have our website. We also have the social media. So please consider to join us. We already have members from 78 different countries who are following our activities on our website, as you can see here. So it is active, people are following it, and people are interested in contributing to it. So please be welcome and please join us. Now comes to the last point, which is the fundraising and career sustaining or retention. So obviously we need funds. We have to support women researchers at every career stage, not only at the young stage, not only at the middle stage, also at the older stage. We have to support them because they are not getting permanent position at various different stages. So we have to have funding possibilities at every stage. And I did 3 attempts to get funds, and I wrote proposals, obviously, spent time doing that. And 3 of them were not successful. So I will keep on trying. That doesn't stop me. But I was successful in getting a grant. And under that grant, I could hire 1 PhD and 1 postdoc student. And we had announced that we are going to maintain gender balance. Obviously, the PhD student is a woman graduate student who has been hired to work on our project in India. And there is a male student who has been hired as a postdoc. So Women in Astronomy Working Group, so we have also initiated our efforts in getting funds from the IAU Executive Committee level, having some funding just to support women career under a STEM ambassador program, which can help to counter this gender imbalance that is there and support the careers. And we hope to have some positive result. So if you have specific positions or funding for women in astronomy, then please let us know. We are going to publish it on our website so that it reaches to people from all over the world and they can communicate to you. On top of that, it also gives you visibility of all the efforts that you are doing as an enterprising researcher and helping other people in that career. So please remember that. Finally, all these efforts that we have done, it took a lot of time. Obviously, it has been a lot of work, as you can see. It was not that active. The active members, all the members actually who are in our working group are unpaid volunteers. They're not being paid. So it's not like they're getting paid and so they are doing all this work. They are doing it for free as a service to the community. The active members are mostly part-time researchers or underpaid researchers, or they are researchers in vulnerable stage in their career. So they are more active about the whole affair. And these activities were not carried out actively in the past. Why? Because it demands a lot of time. It demands a lot of communication. I get all sorts of emails which I have to answer from people from all over the world. So it took almost 1 month of my work time, and I'm sure of the other members of our organizing committee also to do all this work, which is equivalent to actually 1 month of salary, but we are doing it for free as a service to the community because it has to be done. Otherwise, the problem won't be solved. That's the whole idea. And we have been applying for funds, but there are no schemes to fund these activities, whereas each institute should have one position just for this, as a partly research and partly this kind of position should be there in each institute to monitor the progress and the gender balance issues and the diversity issues in the institute. So, and because it represents half of the working population in this field, so it should be there. So to support women career in astronomy, we ask IAU funding agency and institutions to support STEM ambassador program. This concept has to come into picture to carry out such activities, which we are doing for free, but it should happen everywhere in the world if we really want to see some positive change. And they should be doing their personal research as well as this, as a service, which is to the astronomy community. It is exactly like outreach. It is exactly like working for the government as a support scientist. It should be something similar. And provide them long-term funding support at different career stages with no age barrier, because they are continuing to help the community. And we hope for positive outcomes. And that's my last slide. So there are problems. And the problems are if there are no efforts in hiring women researchers and in maintaining the gender balance. And how can you encourage women to take up STEM career? Because as I told you, already at the PhD level, yeah, there are women, more women are there, but they are paying tuition fees to universities. So universities benefit out of that. The more important is when you can see them at 50% level at every career stage and not at the beginning stage only. So that's one thing. Gender imbalances giving rise to unhealthy, unsafe working environment. Issues of harassment and mental health is increasing at an alarming rate. We have all sorts of information and it's not very positive and healthy. And how to tackle this high competition and conflict of interest problem, which is so dominant in workplace, where people are not managing to form groups and work together as a community, but are just, trying to just step on each other and get ahead or something like that. So the solutions are there should be merit-based evaluation of career and of applicants to avoid discrimination, bias, and harassment. Evaluate productivity based upon contract working hours and not just blindly that, oh, this person has produced 4 papers in full-time contract, but that person has produced only 1 paper in 4 years. But yes, perhaps that person was working for 50% only, and that should be taken into consideration. One has to increase the positions of women in astronomy, need to hire senior women researchers equally. It's not like, oh, you're too old and you cannot be hired anymore. That's not the right attitude. Efforts are needed to also appoint non-permanent women researchers in decision-making, because those non-permanent women researchers will exactly give you the points which are missing in the system and which is affecting careers. It's not the people who are having permanent position who knows the problem that non-permanent researchers are facing today. So that's important. And one needs gender balance and equality, diversity, inclusion cells in all the institutions and funding agencies to monitor the progress and the growth of all the policies that they are making and maintain healthy and productive working environment. So that's where I would like to stop. And I would like to invite you all to please participate in the online survey. It is available on our website link where we have been posting all this program. So please participate and provide your valuable feedback and take part in the survey so that we can publish these results and bring to you the most updated information. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thanks, Mamta, for a very nice talk. Yeah, because we have not enough time, so we should have just one question. Do you have a question? No. Yeah, very perfect presentation. Okay, let's move on to next talk. Next talk is by Jeong-Eun Lee from South Korea. Yeah, her talk title is Women in Astronomy Division of Korean Astronomical Society. Yeah, please.
Thank you. As an NOC member, I hope you all are enjoying Busan and IAU 2022. And following Mamta, I'd like to give a quick introduction for myself. I'm Jeong-Eun Lee from Gyeonggi University, and I'm studying star formation in our galaxy, especially low-mass star formation in early evolution. These days, using mainly the ALMA telescopes. Today here, however, I'm on the behalf of Women in Astronomy Division of the Korean Astronomical Society to introduce what we have been doing to promote the interactions between among female astronomers and help women astronomers to attain true equality. So, Korean Astronomical Society was founded in 1965 and joined in the IAU in 1973. Now we have 600 full members and another 600 student members. And the fraction of female members is about 20%, regardless of the type of membership. So the Women in Astronomy WIA division in CAS has been established in 2016, 13 years later, after the WIA working group of IAU was established. Initially, about 66 members joined the WIA division of CAS, and now we have 109 members, including 26 male members. And actually, the chair of this session, Young-Sil Kwak, is the current chair of the WIA division of CAS. So I'm a little bit feel safe because she will fix me if I say something wrong. So the main aims of WIA division in CAS are to promote interactions among women astronomers in the Korean Astronomical Society and to establish strategies and actions to solve gender-related problems and help women to attain true equality in Korean Astronomical Society. Right after the establishment of the WIA division of CAS, we jointly hosted a special session on the role of female astronomers leading astronomy in the 21st century in the 10th East Asian Meeting on Astronomy, EMA-10, to develop the international network among female astronomers. And this workshop was supported by Korean Society of Women in Science and Engineering, not the technology, it's a type of KWSA. And in the special session in the EMA-10, Professor Evin van de Sok provided the introduction of the WIA working group of IAU and other talks on the situations of women astronomers in Japan and Taiwan and here is China and Korea were also provided. Worldwide, the overall situation of women astronomers is very similar. The portion of female students in astronomy field is about 35 to 40%, while the fraction of female astronomers in the permanent positions is about 15 to 70%, lowered by more than a factor of 2. Worse, the fraction of female astronomers in the administrative positions even lower, 4 to 7%. So this special session in the EMA-10 was the first official workshop to discuss the role of women scientists in the Asian country. However, more than 50% of the participants were male, indicating both male and female astronomers are interested in the role of women astronomers in this century. And this special session provided a very important opportunity to consider very seriously the gender equality in the astronomy communities in East Asian countries. So after the special session, the WIA division of CAS tried to increase the involvement of women astronomers within the CAS. So these are the immediate action items. First, we try to increase the number of female participants in our biannual spring and fall CAS meetings, for example, by providing daycare services. And we try to organize the panel meetings and workshops to promote interactions between junior members and more experienced female senior members. And we also try to increase the number of female astronomers in board members and the division chairs and session chairs and so on. So over the past 5 years, we organized several activities, and I'll show you some examples focusing on these 5 items. First, as IAU does, we organized the Women in Astronomy lunch, first in the 2017 CAS meeting, and it became a regular event in the biannual CAS meetings. And we combined this WI lunch with small workshops or panel discussions. And these 3 are those examples. In the first WIA lunch in 2017, we organized a small workshop where the most senior female astronomers, Professor Sang-Gang Lee, who retired in 2013, gave a talk on her career as a stellar astronomer. And a male astronomer, Dr. Gang-Hwan Lee, actually gave a special talk to honor Vera Rubin, who passed it away in 2016, a year before this workshop. And in 2019 CAS meeting, we organized a panel discussion. As you can see here, many male astronomers attended the panel discussions actively, and discussed about how we could increase the involvement of female astronomers and increase the role of women astronomers in the Korean Astronomical Society. And last April, in the 2022 CAS spring meeting, we organized a small workshop to introduce the Women in Astronomy Working Group of IAU and Women in Astronomy Working Group session, this session, under the title of the Preview of Women in Astronomy of IAU GA. This workshop was supported by a grant from the Association of Korean Women Scientists and Engineering, KWSE, and we also supported today's WIA lunch from this grant. And also some female graduate student was supported by this grant for their travel money to Busan. And we also provided some support for the preparation of posters and banners for the WIA working group session, this session in AIU GA 2022. And I think this is the biggest achievement by our WIA division of CAS. We provided child care service for the first time in Korea in the academia. And for the first time, the WIA division of CAS organized this child care service and hand-run the service by the WI division and sponsored by the CAS and the CASI, However, to run this daycare service more efficiently and more safely, CAS took the responsibility of this daycare service from the 2019 meeting. And now, the Korean Space Science Society is actually benchmarking the child care service of CAS. So we are making positive effect, even in other academic society in Korea, outside the Korean Astronomical Society. And these pictures show the activity provided by the daycare service in 2019. Actually, 3 female astronomers could attend the CAS meeting with their children at the moment. So, and then the WIA of CAS was selected by Korean Women in Science, Engineering, and Technology, WSET, in short, to run a program called Discovering New Talented Female Researchers, along with several educational programs in 2019. And 3 young female astronomers received the WSET CAS Young Researcher Award for their excellent academic achievement. This figure shows the 3 awardees here. And the most important achievement by WIA division of CAS is to include the ethical regulation on sexual harassment into the CAS ethics. Before this, the ethical regulation of CAS was just for research. But for now, necessarily, the WI chair must be a member of the ethics committee of CAS. Currently, the chair and another member of WIA division are working for the committee. And lastly, we are trying to increase female leadership within Astronomical Society. We are organizing discussion sessions to raise awareness that the number of female in leadership positions, such as board members, division chair, session chair, and invited speaker is really low within the CAS. So we try to recommend female astronomers for those leadership positions. And since the WIA division of CAS was established, things are moving to the right direction, but very slowly. However, male astronomers are willing to join the discussions for gender equality and solve a problem together. That is a really encouraging part. And one important and encouraging change is the increase of the number of board members, female board members. You'll see here. This figure shows the fractional change of session chair, female session chairs in pink, and the fraction change of female board numbers in blue lines. And the yellow histogram shows the actual number of female board members. As you can see here, until 2019, we had only 1 elected female board members. And thanks to the campaign by the WIA division of CAS, the number of female board members increased greatly, although the number is just 5 or 6, but still it's a lot compared to 1, right? And the fraction is about 30% right now. So we are very proud of this part. And we don't have very accurate statistical data within CAS. So I brought some statistical data of overall STEM fields in Korea. Here I show you the female student numbers enrolled in master and PhD program in 2012 and 2020. And blue and gray histograms at the bottom shows the female student numbers in natural science. And the yellow and orange at the top histogram shows the female student the numbers in engineering. As you can see, there has been a lot of increasement in engineering compared to the natural science. However, the fraction of female students is different. The fraction of female students in the natural science is about 50%, as you can see in the blue and gray lines. But the fraction of female students in engineering is around 20%. However, over the past 8 years, the fraction of female students in natural science increased only by 2.5%, but 6%, about 6% in engineering. And then what happened after these female graduate students received their degrees? So this blue line shows the change of the female researchers, not astronomy. We don't have a very accurate data set in astronomy field, so I just use the statistics overall of the overall STEM field. So here, blue shows the fraction of female researchers in permanent positions. So it increased from 10% to 18% over 13 years, right? But the fraction of female researchers in the management level is very low. As you can see, the fraction stayed about around 6 to 7% until 2014. But after then, it increases slowly, and now it's about 12% in 2020. So the portion of a female PI in research project is not different from the fraction of female researchers in the management level, as seen in this yellow line. But in the STEM field, overall, the portion of female professors with the tenures is around 30% now. But actually, this is much better than the situation in astronomy field. I know we don't have many tenured female professors in university. So we don't have accurate data, so I didn't present the data set here, but overall, it seems like around 30% is because of the quota system working in Korea right now. And this is my final slide for our future plans. So we'll continue to do what we have been doing over the past 5 years, but we needed to do better for 2 items The first one is currently we are associated member of Korea Federation Women's Science and Technology Association, because the number of female members in WIA is just 83, but the minimum number for the full membership is 100. So we are trying to recruit more female members to join WIA division. And as I said, we don't have a reliable and accurate data set to, isolate the gender problem. So we are going to collect statistical data to make more quantitative measures and set the strategic plans for gender equality in the Korean Astronomical Society. Okay, I'll stop here. Thank you.
Thanks, Professor Lee. Okay. Do you have a question and comments? Online?
As I can ask just a quick question. So what is your plan to, would you like to see some project coming up with the IAU Women in Astronomy Working Group, or would you be interested in coming up with some discussion under which we can build some projects together?
Sorry, could you say again? I'm sorry.
Is there enough interest in working with the IAU Women in Astronomy Working Group and the KAS Women in Astronomy Working Group? Would you like to come up with some common project?
Yeah.
Yes?
Yes.
All right. We will be contacting you at one point because we would like to have some
Please
members.
contact Dr. Jeong-Eun Lee, who is the chair of the WIA division of CAS. Yeah.
Please contact me.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, next talk is by Eleni. Yeah, her talk is ERC measures and practices to improve gender balance in science. Yeah, please start, Eleni.
Yes, hi. Can you hear me fine?
Yes.
Yes, okay, good. So yes, I'm Eleni Chatzichristou. Let me share my screen first. And then let me use the presentation mode. And let me know if everybody see my screen fine.
Yeah, all good, all good.
Yeah, all good, perfect. Okay, so I'm talking on behalf of the European Research Council. My name is Eleni Chatzichristou, and I'm an astrophysicist for 25 years, and I'm working now as a research policy analyst at the unit A1 of the ERC, which supports the Scientific Council. So my talk today is going to be about measures and practices to improve gender balance undertaken by the ERC, and the first results, which are in fact very encouraging. So just to summarize in 1 minute, for those who are not familiar with the European Research Council, so it's a funding agency which stimulates investigator-driven frontier research in Europe and provides competitive funding across all fields of science. And the only basis is scientific excellence. All schemes that I will tell you in a second have a bottom-up approach, which means that applications can be made from any field of research for blue sky research, so no need to be related to industry, to the market, or any of that sort. And the grants actually focus on high risk, high gain research. So the more ambitious the proposal, the better. And the the funding schemes we have, which I will show in my plots, is the starting grants, the consolidator grants, the advanced grants, the proof of concept grants, and the synergy grants. And these go more or less according, if you like, to research advancement, to research age advancement. Yeah. Okay, so let me go to my first slide. So basically what I would like to point here is that, we all know that women and men are equally able to perform excellent frontier research, which ERC needs. And this is the view of ERC. And we do know that in recent years has been some efforts. I mean, following these talks, we hear that times and times again. So there have been many efforts from institutions and from funding agencies to improve gender balance in science. And we think this is especially true also for ERC, where all processes are carefully designed to ensure equal opportunities for the female and male scientists applying. Also, we have formed a dedicated working group in 2008 to monitor gender balance in ERC calls, and formulated the first gender equality plan endorsed by the ERC Scientific Council back in the 7th Framework Program. And this has been regularly updated. Now, the last word about this, in 2021, the Scientific Council decided actually to extend the scope of the working group to cover also diversity issues in addition to gender equality. And this is intended to ensure that the ERC promotes diversity and prevents any form of discrimination in the structure, in operations, evaluations, in line with the Article of EU Charter for the Fundamental Rights. And this obviously affects positively anything related to gender balance or imbalance. We think that the ERC is widely cited as an example of success in a complex environment. And we do know that the success rate in such competitions, in grant competitions, is influenced by many factors. I think Mamta also mentioned many factors which lead to imbalance, gender imbalance in this case. There may be bias, in particular unconscious bias in the evaluation process, for instance. Also, female scientists usually do not emphasize their achievements as strongly as male applicants. And obviously, the important aspect of the burden of child caring and the care of sick relatives, for instance, which very often slows down women's scientific careers. Mamta has expanded on this a lot. And ERC has been addressing all these different aspects of conscious or unconscious bias at all levels, as I will mention in a moment. That means at the applicant level, at the grantee level, at the level of ERC teams, at the level of the panel members evaluating applicants, at the level of projects, and at the level of the general RCA, which means European Research Council Executive Agency staff. And I will say more now, just give an overview of this. So just to mention a few of these measures implemented by ERC already at an early stage. ERC instituted, for instance, extensions of eligibility for women with children, has introduced measures about parental leave, whereby female applicants' eligibility window can be extended by 18 months per child. For example, if a female scientist has one child and she obtained her PhD 8 years earlier, she can still apply for a starting grant because we count 8 minus 1.5 year of parental leave. This means 6.5 years really of professional experience after PhD, so still applicable. And this extension window has been revised, as you can see, regularly to include also other aspects. Also, the ERC has modified the CV templates for applicants. I believe one of the previous speakers has been talking about this, whether this happens or not. So yes, indeed, the CV templates have been revised to account for such aspects. So it introduces anti-bias, let's say, questions, so they can take any such issues into account. Also, ERC carries out regular briefings for the members of the evaluation panels, addressing one by one all the unconscious bias aspects, also those related to gender. Also, this happens for ERC staff, also for external evaluations, and also through various communications. I will say more about this about ERC ambassadors, which is a new, let's say, action. They also encourage particularly female researchers to apply. And these actually are all parts of the ERC gender equality plan that I mentioned. So here, just two examples of the last couple of years. That was, let me just move a little bit my window so I can see. Yeah. So in 2020, there was an ERC workshop specifically dedicated on sex and gender dimension in frontier research, very well attended, where all these aspects we are discussing now have been actually brought into discussion. And then the other aspect, which is indirectly related, but very much important, is in 2022, there have been measures implemented in the ERC work program 2022 to address indeed the impact of the COVID-19 pandemic on the productivity of ERC applicants. And there have been some changes proposed so as to account for this disruption and how this may affect the outcome and how this may delay also. I'm sorry, but I've just lost my connection. Can you still see me? I've lost my connection. Can you still see my sharing?
We can see you, but we can't see your screen.
Yes, something happened. Just let me find back my presentation, which I don't know where it dropped. It's not very helpful. But you know what? I have my other computer next to me, which actually I have also opened my presentation. So I will switch to that one. Just a second.
Or if you want, I can run your presentation. I have.
If you can do that, yes, maybe it's faster than me trying to switch in my computer now.
Okay, so I'll just share.
Sorry for that. I don't know what happened really.
She has a copy. Remember she had taken.
I think I was in slide number 5.
So there we are.
Let me try to see that. Yes, right. Okay, so yeah, on this one, I was just trying to say that these measures that were implemented to actually account for the productivity drop because of the pandemic have actually a direct application also to the gender-related issues, which can also drive to, to drop in productivity. So that's something that's implemented on the new gender equality plan, which is valid until 2027. You can go to the next slide now.
Yeah, so there we are.
Okay, yeah, that's right. Okay, so now the working group, so just to say a couple of more words about this plan. The working group on gender issues has drafted this reference document, which was endorsed by the Scientific Council, which sets actually the ERC, it's very important, it sets the ERC gender policy and objectives and how the aspects, the measures are going to be implemented. It's a document which is available to the general public, just you enter the ERC website. It can be in some sense also inspiring for other organizations and funding agencies. So the main objectives are to raise awareness about the ERC gender policy among the applicants, female applicants, to work towards improving gender balance among the ERC candidates and within the teams that have ultimately been funded by ERC, to identify and remove any potential unconscious gender bias in the evaluation procedure. And we have been running several studies about this. I will tell you a couple of this towards the end. To embed gender awareness within all levels of all ERC processes, while we still keep focus on excellence, and that's usually a fine balance. and to strive for gender balance also between among ERC peer reviewers. That's a very important aspect, and other ERC bodies. So you cannot support a gender balance high-level equality plan and then have your executive agency being mainly dominated by males. That's not possible. Okay, so ERC has been working on all these aspects. Could we move please to the next slide? Also, we often ask female ERC grantees to explain their ERC experience and to showcase their ERC-funded research. And in this way, we hope that we create this female role model ERC researchers, which can actually encourage more women to apply for ERC. And one of the new activities I mentioned before is the ERC ambassadors. So this is members of the ERC Scientific Council and volunteer ERC grantees who are empowered to act as ambassadors for equality and inclusion in their scientific area. And another aspect is we are striving to collect more and more gender data in different countries and institutions. Don't forget the ERC covers all European countries, and also team members can come from non-European countries as well. So we try to collect important gender-related data in all these different countries to better define the existing pool of researchers, so that we can target more precisely our encouragement actions for qualified female scientists to apply for ERC grants agreement. And obviously the last thing is that the grant agreement that all grantees sign binds the ERC beneficiaries to promote gender equality at all levels of personnel of their own teams, hiring teams. Okay. If you want, you can go to the next slide. Now, the fruits of these efforts are really encouraging. I will show you a few graphs in a moment. In general, the percentages of female applicants and grantees have been constantly increasing from FP7, from the 7th Framework Program through Horizon 2020 to Horizon Europe. And in fact, the success rate of female to male applicants in most types of grants, the 5 types of grants I mentioned before, have almost reached equality in the last 2 years, as you will see. And this maybe, I would say, is so far the main achievement of ERC as far as gender balance concerns. So in these 2 slides that they are there, so what you see here on the bottom, you have 3 out of the 5 basic grants, starting, consolidator, and advanced grants. And with the first to the left column is actually the percentage of female panelists. The middle one, the full, is the applicants, and the one to the right is the grantees. So you see the percentage of females in panelists, applicants, and grantees. For the 3 types of grants, from left to right, you advanced in scientific age, okay? And so what you do see is, you can actually move one more slide before I say something. And so here you see the same thing, but now according to scientific area. So life sciences is LS, physics, engineering, and mathematics is the green, the middle, and social sciences and humanities is the blue. So in here you would say, well, this is what I expect, right? I have less women in physics, engineering, and mathematics, and more in scientific, in social science and humanities. But you will see this being reversed in the success rates, which says a lot about the quality of women scientists. So maybe not that many, let's say not that many female applicants applied for physics grants, but when they get it, but when they apply, the success rate is by far higher. Okay, so basically the lower shares here of women in the ERC calls mirrors, I think, the overall situation in science in Europe. And you see numbers raised going to 27, 23%, and so on and so forth. If you move one more slide, slide 11, I think, you see something else. Here you do see the success rates. So the percentage of successful candidates. And with blue are the female successful candidates, and with red are the male ones. Down you see again the type of grant, started, consolidator, advanced, and then you see the dates that indicate if it's FP7, Horizon 2020, etc. And where you do see, for instance, in 2014 is the first year where the overall success rate of women was for the first time higher than men. And in all cases, what you see, for instance, in the starting grants, is that they start with male success rates much higher, but as we approach the present, you see that they stabilize around, let's say, equal numbers, sometimes women higher than men. And this is the case also for the consolidator, and this is also the case for the advanced grants. So you see that we are actually tending towards a stabilized, equal kind of success rate between female and male applicants, sometimes even higher success rate. You can fast move to the next slide, please. The next couple of slides. So here you have again the success rates in a different way. You have on the upper left for FP7, lower left for Horizon 2020. Success rate for female candidates is the left one, and for male on the right. So basically what you see is that in FP7, the success rates for males were significantly higher. But when you move to the lower right part, where you have Horizon 2020, you see that actually the success rate improved significantly for women, for female candidates in all different types of grants, and in some cases even superseded that of male success rates. And if you move one more slide, you see exactly the same thing, but now it's about the research field. And you see what I mentioned before, the green is now physics, engineering, and mathematics, and you see that the success rate of women, even though the pool of applicants is smaller, is higher than that of male applicants. And that immediately can erase all kinds of prejudices about how women are doing well in social sciences, but not so well in physics, engineering. Hey guys, success rate is significantly higher. So if you want to have more candidates, please encourage women to apply more for this and not be scared. So these kinds of graphs can say a lot of things, I think. But we don't have much time for that. So let me move to the next one. Okay, so here is nothing different. It's just the same success rates, but now as a difference by domain. I suggest that we move past this because we don't have that much time to see something more. Okay, so in the next few slides, what I'm going to show, I'm comparing the statistics of the percentage of women applicants for the moment, while still lower than men, and how they increase with time in all different grants, as you can see here. So we go from FP7 to Horizon 2020. So that you can see it here quite clearly, I believe. The share of female applicants actually increases by year in all types of grants. You can move to the next slide, please. Here you see the same thing, but now by domain. So if independently of if it is life sciences, physics, engineering, or social sciences and humanities, again, you see a slight increase in female applicants. If you look to the next slide, we see the same things, but now for grantees. So for people who have actually succeeded to get a grant, and you see that actually this trend is most clearly, it increases dramatically for female grantees, say in the advanced grants, which are, the more advanced career level of scientists. And if you move one more slide, please. Okay, so here you see the same thing, but now by domain, right? Okay, now you can move one more slide. Okay, and so here you see something different. You don't see the PIs anymore. PIs are excluded from this, but you see the teams that the PIs form once they get the grant. I remember I told you that they are obliged to, they are signing that they will actually take care of gender imbalance in their own teams at all levels. So what you have here, of course, still bears improvement. You have 60% male team members and 40% female team members. They can do better, but they're approaching towards towards equalization. I should also see that, as you can see there, we only analyzed 2,000 projects from the from Horizon 2020, which means we get this data from their midterm reports. We know that teams evolve towards the end of the project, so maybe the team composition has changed as well. So these are results, preliminary results, if that's.
Excuse me, Eleni.
Yeah.
Yeah, please, summary. Yeah, we have not enough time, so last speaker is waiting here.
Yes, yes. Okay, so please go ahead to the next slide. And you can actually move to the next slide as well. And this should be my last one. So what I try to see is that the positive results from ERC measures may reflect, in a sense, the general positive trend out there of actually encouraging gender balance, etc. But the contribution of this, we think, is slightly minor, given that the actual pool of qualified female applicants has not changed much over the last 15 years. So in my view, this is one of the main challenges and is no different from the other programs of the EU. It is a much more general societal problem that is unfortunately beyond the reach of ERC, and it needs to be addressed at a much earlier stage in educational systems. Where we do hope to advance in the next few years for ERC is to understand what makes highly qualified women who are already in that pool of researchers not apply for ERC grants, and then to develop targeted encouragement actions for them. And with this, I would like to thank you very much for listening to me. Hope I didn't supersede my time much.
All right, thank you very much. I think we got a lot of information. Any questions?
No?
All right, so we will write to Eleni, of course, when we have our own questions for her. I'm sure we will get lots of.
And we will be happy to share more details with you if you need them. Yeah.
Yes, yes, we will contact you. Thank you very much, Eleni.
Thank you.
Perfect.
Okay. Next speaker, last speaker. Tony, right? Yeah. Tony?
Okay. Hi, how are you?
Yeah, please start.
All right, so thanks for having me. My name is Tony Travouillon. I'm representing the Australian National University. My collaborator, Celine D'Orgeville, gave us very similar presentation at the SPIE meeting of Montreal about a couple of weeks ago. And I don't have large statistics on global numbers of women in science, but what I do have is a case study for our particular unit. And what we've heard also is the role of women in science, but astronomy is more than just a scientist. There is also people working in observatories. We have technicians, we have administrators, and to have those observatories running, we also have people working in instrumentation. And in some school of astrophysics like mine, we have people working in all three. So I'm lucky to be in a big place where we have about 30 scientists, astronomers, of which about 40% are women. But we're also running the Siding Spring Observatory in Australia, so we have a good number of people working to run those telescopes. And we also have what's actually the picture is all about, which is our technology center called the AITC, which is where we're building instrumentation for our own observatories, but also for ESO, for GMT, and other international collaborations. So let me see if that works. So who are we? We're basically in Canberra, in Australia. So we are the largest group for astronomy in the country, the biggest astronomy department, you could say. And like I said, we're also collaborating on large projects overseas. We are located at the historical Mount Stromlo Observatory, which had issues with fires a few years ago. I think it was probably one of the stories that astronomers were discussing back in 2003, where a fire took over the mountain and destroyed some of the old historical telescopes, and now we basically are rebuilding. And so what I have on this picture is our new technology center, where I'm going to be focusing some of my talk here. So that's a picture of our school. What do we do in this department? We build, like I mentioned, instrumentation to run astronomical projects. So for example, we have adaptive optics project for ESO. So this is, for example, MAVIS, which is the next generation adaptive optics working in the optical wavelength. That's for the VLT. We are building GMTIFs, which is one of the flagship instruments for the GMT observatories. But we also do laser guide star for Subaru. We do space satellites like Pixis, which is basically a prototype for an interferometer for space. We also have, in fact, space-related project like optical communications between the ground and satellites. We have a detectors group which works on infrared technologies, again, for use in space observations, either from the ground up and vice versa. So we have basically an ecosystem which is not just the scientists, but also the engineers and the technicians and kind of the entire ecosystem that you would need around astronomy. And so, that's basically what our portfolio looks like, what we kind of do. So it's a very varied bunch of different research programs. And so these are essentially our division in terms of astronomy and in terms of how much we do for space, both in terms of labor and labor plus equipment. So, we basically have got about, $30 to $40 million worth of a project taking place every year across that portfolio. We also have an education program, and this is going to become important for the next part of my presentation, because one of the challenges that we have is to hire people with engineering skills to do those instruments. So we've heard that from the previous speakers that, in astronomy, we've got about 20% women and about 80% men. At the student level, it's getting a lot better. It's about 40-60, so there's clearly some improvement. And so education plays a big part of what we do, so we can have a pipeline of astronomers and engineers working all the way down from undergraduate until the time where they can work with us. And in fact, we are currently hiring some people that we've actually educated. So they went through the pipeline at ANU and are currently working as engineers or scientists with us. So we do a lot of short courses, postgraduate, undergraduate, but we also have things internal to education. For example, we heard from our previous speaker that unconscious bias is a big issue for this gender problem. And so every year we have a training of all our staff on unconscious bias. We have training also on mental health issues and all the sort of internal things that you need to be able to have an environment that keeps equity in mind. So our first issue is when we need to resolve is recruitment. Recruitment and retention are the two main ones. If you think astronomers have an issue with recruiting women, engineering is far worse. In fact, in our department, we have 32 staff astronomers. I'm not including the students, but if you take postdoc all the way to senior astronomers, we have 32 total astronomers and about 12 women. That's about 40%. So it's better than average. I think we're doing quite well compared to the global statistics. So clearly we're doing something right. However, when we look at the technical side, so these are the numbers, the plot that you see here are the numbers for the technical side, what we call the AITC, this acronym over there. That's basically all the people working on instrumentation. So now we forget the astronomers and we care about the engineers, the technicians, the administration, project managers, and a few scientists like myself, actually. But now we have a number which is far more biased towards now the male side. Instead of being 32 to 12, now it's 31 to 4. So engineering is far behind science, I would argue, when it comes to gender equity. So there is definitely a big problem with recruitment, because there is far fewer women studying engineering at the ground up. In fact, I think two slides ago, our Korean colleague showed some plots of the natural sciences in the 30s, 40s, and then below that you had the engineering, a factor of 2 lower. And I think that's what we see here. So we have far fewer women to begin with. We don't start from parity at undergraduate, and then the pipeline goes down. We've already an out of balance system at the beginning which obviously gets far worse. But that's at the recruitment level, and that's already difficult. But then there is the retention, and the retention is also very, very challenging. We find that when we find women to work with us, they don't stay with us as long as the men do. And so that makes the problem even more difficult. And so when we talk with the women, on the left-hand side, I have this sort of series, why aren't you staying with us? And there is a bunch of factors which are actually in increasing complexity, in increasing of importance here. The most important one is basically there is so much competition. In Australia at the moment, we have a thriving space program. We just got our space agency opening in 2018. So startups started to come from the ground. Engineering became very popular. If you have fewer women, they have a choice to work at the best place, the place where there is more prospect, where it's the most exciting. The space industry sucked up all the air out of the room. And so that meant that it was very, very hard, very, very competitive to work, to basically retain women when there is things that are happening in the space sector. At the university also, at the university level, we also have some salary grades that are a bit more restrictive than in the private industry. If you work for a big engineering firm, you can pay far more than you can in a university. So things being equal, you can get more pay in the industry. So we lose women to industry because of salary reasons. And then there is the sort of the cultural and the sort of the family environment that is difficult as well. We found that basically, if you have fewer women to begin with, then the culture and the environment is more difficult for them. And I think even as a man, you can understand that. If you're a small group, you don't feel well integrated. It's very difficult. You know, if I was working and I was the only man and there was 50 women around me, I would probably feel like the outlier. And so this is exactly the same issue. When you have only a couple of women in a group of 30, obviously it's more difficult and far less culturally interesting to work in this environment. So retention is also very, very problematic here. And so what are we trying to do in our department? Well, we are using the fact that we are currently going through an area of growth right now. If you can see on the plots on the right-hand side, we currently have a lot of projects. We have a lot of instruments being built, and we have a high demand. So right now we are recruiting a lot of people. We are currently waiting for basically 10 people to join us to be able to deliver what we need to do. We basically need to go up by a factor of 50% in 2023, which is huge. So because we have this recruitment taking place, what we've decided to do is to try a pilot of women-only recruitment. So we have a series of jobs going from project managers to optical engineering, mechanical engineering, system engineering, also postdoc scientist positions as well, totally 10 positions. And there's some examples here just to give you a sense for what I'm talking about here in terms of what they are. But we have decided that we will first make those jobs available only to women. So we have advertised essentially all these positions expecting only women applicants. And we're going to run this pilot for a few months, see exactly if we can actually try to fix this balance issue by bringing more women. And then if it works, then we should be able to fill most of those. If it doesn't, then this is where we'll have to go back to a more 50-50 split. Our astronomers on their side, they're currently doing a 50-50 split. So every time there is 2 positions, it's 1 man, 1 woman automatically. So there is always that division. But for us, we're trying to go a step beyond and do 100% women for those new positions here. And so also we are trying obviously to make the recruitment more women-friendly. It's not just having the position available, but it's about making them more suitable to the flexibility that is demanded basically. So for example, dual hire is a big one, for example, because we're in academia. You have a two-body problem where you have a partner, for example, so dual hire is something that the university is pushing quite hardly to make sure that we can get the right person in. If that means hiring the partner, then we can do this. We also have a very healthy amount of parental leave, return to work program, campus facilities, flexible work. So we're trying to make sure that our work environment is really suited to sort of a family environment, which is therefore more likely to be attractive to a woman, in early career who has a child or wants a child and can still feel like this is the right place to work and still have a career moving forward while maintaining this quality of life around it. So that's why we have this plan moving forward. I have again a booth that you guys are welcome to come and see me. It's actually the Astralis booth, which is basically a consortium between my university and 2 other universities in Sydney. And so we basically all have these kind of jobs open. So if you want to know more about it, you can come and see me at my booth. You can ask me more questions if you need there. And I think that's where I'll stop. Thank you.
Thank you, Tony. And last
Thank you very much. This was excellent.
Thank you.
It's a great effort and it's very remarkable. So we are going to talk about it actually a bit more in our forthcoming magazine issue and on the report that we are going to write. The one question that comes to my mind while we are still struggling to bring up these problems, I see you're far advanced in addressing this and really taking up an action of hiring so many women. So the question is, why do you want to build? I mean, what is the best reason that you would like to give? Why do you want to build this gender balance in the field of engineering?
Well, I think...
Are you lacking manpower? Is it because of that? Or is it because of some policy coming from the government to implement gender balance strictly at work?
So all of the above, I think, is the general answer here. So we need a lot more people, but we also want to make sure that the environment is a lot better than it is when we have just men working the same jobs. I teach in physics at the engineering school in my university, and I see that it's a lot of guys. And I don't see that if we do nothing, nothing is going to get resolved unless we really start from the ground up. And so that's why we have this attitude of being active at every level, from the hiring, which is kind of at the end of the whole story, but also at the educational side, where we're trying to get more people starting engineering and getting excited into space and astronomy and how do we build stuff for that. And I think it will take years for us to get into an environment which looks a lot like astronomy, where I feel like there is a healthy amount of women, a healthy amount of men, and everything works very well together. So I think engineering is behind still. I think astronomy is leading in that sense. And so I think the people working in observatories, in fact, I didn't say something, is that, I mentioned the numbers in our astronomy group, I mentioned the numbers in our engineering side, but if I look at the people running the observatory, so at Siding Spring, we have a crew of 16 people. These are the people who live in the countryside running the observatory. There is 16 people, there's only 1 woman. So this is completely out of balance, and it's even harder there because it's remote, it's rural, it's not a place where career is going to necessarily go very fast, so even less attractive. And so again, that's another area where we know we have a lot of work, and it's going to take every trick in the book to be able to rectify this asymmetry.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Tony. Thank you, Tamna. Okay, so last speaker. So just a few audience here. Too late. So anyway, our session is will be closed. So thanks very much for all speakers and audience. Thank you.
Yes, thank you very much again to the Korean Astronomical Society for their support and help. I think it has been very smooth until now without any problem. So thanks a lot to all the speakers and for all your support. I'm sure we should be working together and coming up with something important that has to be a product coming out of this meeting, which is what we want to do. So we will be contacting all the speakers at one point to, to contribute to this effort that we want to come up with. And we will see what best we can do. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye. Bye-bye.